Welcome to Murfreesboro Storyteller. For this program, we are originating on the Old Nashville Highway at the Jameson House, which is very near to the Bark Park. But today we want to talk about cultural arts. And we have as our special guest, Pam Williams, Coordinator for Special Arts for the City of Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Pam, welcome. Tell me about your job. What do you do as coordinator?
So for the Cultural Arts Murfreesboro department, we have three sections. We have a performing arts section, a visual arts section, and a facilities section. And so for the performing arts, we run a really large children's theater program called Perform Murfreesboro.
And where is that? Where does that happen?
That is inside the Washington Theater at Patterson Park.
Oh, okay.
And we have dance classes, music classes, sewing classes, acting classes, and we put on 5 large productions a year. And we also have a homeschool theater program in that as well.
Wonderful. I did not realize that. Are most of those presentations at the Patterson Center?
Yes.
Okay.
One show a year, we try to travel it somewhere. So this year that's going to be Winnie the Pooh, and we're going to be traveling it to different schools in the area.
And making the presentation for the students?
Yes, yeah, doing the full production for them.
How long have you been involved in this work?
That is actually where I started when I started with the City of Murfreesboro, which was building sets for the theater, and then worked my way up until now I'm the Cultural Arts Coordinator. And so, yeah, that is our performing arts section. And then we have a visual arts section where we run festivals like Wild Arts Day and the Greenway Art Festival. And we run the Laureate program and artist workshops, kids art classes, all kinds of things. And then we also have the facilities side where we rent out the Washington Theater to different special events or concerts, other theaters that want to come rent the theater. And then we also work putting on art shows in various areas of the city, like in the rotunda of City Hall.
I understand you're from Florida originally and a graduate of Tusculum University.
Yes.
Tell me about your work at Tusculum. What did you major in?
I was a double major in studio art and graphic design, and I concentrated in metal sculpture, actually. And so that is kind of what brought me here to building sets in the theater, was that I had done a lot of sculptural work. And I had also built sets for the theater program at Tusculum.
And your office is here at the Jameson House?
Yes, I work out of the Jameson House on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's where I run the visual arts side of Cultural Arts Murfreesboro, and then I work out of Patterson Monday, Wednesday, and Friday running the performing arts side.
Okay, wonderful. And your work comes under the Recreation Department, is that correct?
Yes, we're under Parks and Recreation.
On a personal note, I understand you're about to head to Denmark.
Yes. In a couple days, I'm going to Denmark with my fiance, and we are going to get married at the top of a lighthouse, and we're having a private ceremony and then doing our honeymoon in Copenhagen, and then we're going to have a reception for our family when we get back.
Is there any connection with Denmark, the reason you chose that?
Denmark is our #1 bucket list location. We've just always wanted to go. We've got a lot of places that we're hoping to go throughout our life, and so this is our #1 that we really wanted to get to first.
Oh, well, wonderful. Have a wonderful wedding and honeymoon.
Thank
That's
you.
Right. Let's talk about the Laureate program. Is this something new?
Yes, this is our 2nd year of the Laureate program. So we launched it in 2016.
Okay. Now, what does it involve?
So Laureates, if you're not familiar with it, is a laureate is an individual that is given a honorary role, usually from a government institution. So there's over a dozen national governments that have laureates.
Okay.
So the United States has a poet laureate.
I was going to say, I've heard of poet laureate.
Yeah, and then some more local government institutions also have laureate programs. And like you said, I grew up in Florida, and in Tampa, where I grew up, they have a really large photography laureate program, which is a little different from the poet laureate. And then in 2016, Knoxville, Tennessee, started a poet laureate program out of the mayor's office, and I saw that and just thought, we should be doing that. There's no reason that we couldn't do that too. And so we decided to start a larger laureate program that had 3 laureates, a photographer, a poet, and a painter.
Okay.
And so The first laureates were the 2017-18 laureates, and their terms run from July of 2017 to June of 2018.
Okay.
And what that means is that they're first given the honorary title of Murfreesboro's laureate.
Okay.
And then the mayor gives them an award and a monetary award of $500. And then they're given a list of obligations to complete throughout their term. And those include things like reaching out to underserved audiences in Murfreesboro with arts outreach, doing community events, and creating a couple new pieces of work inspired by Murfreesboro.
Okay.
So the poet laureate last year created poems that were inspired by Murfreesboro. The painter created paintings. The photographer took photos, and they were all inspired by the city. And then they each, at the end of their term, give one of those pieces to the city to be included in our permanent art collection.
Oh, and
Yeah.
where is that displayed?
We're working on having an online display of it where you can go through. These are the first 3 pieces in our collection, and then they're going to be permanently installed in different buildings throughout the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And so we just appointed our new 2018-19
19,
laureates. And again, it's a poet, a photographer, and a painter. And our poet laureate is Corey Wells, and she was our first poet laureate, so she is serving a second term.
Oh, okay.
And in her first year, she created a lot of new and thriving programs, but one in particular is that she started a Poetry with Incarcerated Women program, which was really special because it really fit our goal of reaching into new audiences that we didn't have hands in, because we're under Parks and Recreation, so most of our programs take place at community centers or public property or parks, and so she was able to reach further than we had been reaching. And then our photographer laureate, his name is Gail Stoner, and in his term, he's going to be working with veterans and the homeless population, and he's been taking portraits of different people that are homeless and sharing their stories.
Where does he find them? Various locations, I guess.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of connections with different service groups in the area, and he's working with them. And then our painter laureate is Ashley Buchanan, and she runs a local arts event group called Creative Movements.
Is she akin to the MTSU graduate, Dr. James Buchanan?
I don't know.
It goes back for many years ago, and he was one of our distinguished alumni.
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
I don't know if it's the same Buchanan family or not.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when will they be doing these various things? When will the new class, if you will, begin?
So they started their term July 2018, and
So they're underway now. Then.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've started, and they'll continue until June of 2019.
Okay. And they'll be busy during that particular period of time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, wonderful. How does anyone find out about them and where they are, and to know, to, for instance, hear the poetry or see the art or see the photography?
Yes. So we try to keep updated on our social media, so you can find a lot on facebook.com/Cultural Arts Murfreesboro.
Okay.
But they also have an Instagram that they run together where they update a lot, and it's at Borough Laureates.
All right.
And then there's a lot on our website as well, which is murfreesborotn.gov/parks.
Sounds like a wonderful program. Anything else we need to mention about what happens and when it happens?
At the end of the laureates' term, they have a combined art show at the Rotunda of City Hall. And so in June of 2019, you'll be able to go see all of the new work that they created for their term, and as well as other work and examples of the projects that they did. Mm-hmm.
Pam, thank you. This is an exciting and an interesting program.
Thank you.
I know you have a lot of fun working with it.
Yeah, it's great.
Pam, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you joining us. This has been Pam Williams, coordinator for the Cultural Arts for the City of Murfreesboro. Coming up next, we'll meet the laureates. This portion of our program is originating from the Patterson Community Center on Mercury Boulevard in Murfreesboro. And we have today for our program the 3 laureates of Murfreesboro selected by the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department. And we welcome you to our program. Corey Wells, our poetry laureate.
Yes.
A poet laureate, I guess the right term.
I think people use both words,
Okay.
and I'll answer to either. And yeah, I'm very glad to be here with you today, John.
Good. And this is the second year you've been in this role.
This project rolled out last year in 2017, and so yes, I served then and decided to re-up for one more year.
Very good. Okay. And next, Gail Stoner, who is our photographer laureate.
That's correct. I'm the man with the camera.
Okay, you with the camera. Okay.
Yeah.
And third and finally is Ashley Buchanan, who is our painter laureate. Right, Ashley?
Yes, I'm the painter laureate.
All right, very good. Congratulations to all three.
Thank you.
Thank
Let's
you.
find out more about how you got here. Let's start with Ashley. Tell me about yourself personally. Are you in school?
Actually, I'm an alumni, 2010 of MTSU.
All right.
So, proud alumni. I am an artist full-time. I have a business called Creative Movements. It's all about art. Our big part, we do film, we do events. One of our biggest things is events where we have music, art, live performances, all under one roof, like everyone there. And we put on this major event, you know. And we also do media and marketing and design. So that's a little bit about me. As far as my art goes, like my artistry, I paint, I do film, animation, and from wood carvings. I'm just an artist more so than anything, but the painter laureate title, you know. So.
Have you always been interested in and involved in art?
Oh yes, I think the first time I got interested in, I do remember this clear as day. I was 3 years old, and this is back in the day when they didn't have cell phones. So we had those long cord phones. And my mom she was on her phone, on the phone, I just remember it. And she was doodling on the back of an envelope. And I think from there, like, that's when I was like, what is she doing? You know, just curious as a child. Okay, let me start doodling. I think I just picked up from there, and I've just been drawing and creating art ever since. So.
Is there one painting that you were selected for, or was it your whole collection?
I think that the cultural art looks at everything, not just your skill or talents. Okay. They look at your pieces. They also look at your community activity, and you know, your appreciation for art. So I do believe anybody that's interested in helping the arts, you know, should try and apply. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a fairly rigorous application process, as Ashley is alluding to. And so a sample of our work is definitely part of that. Okay. But yeah, as Ashley said, it's also very much, I think, that they are looking for people who do already have some community ties. Sure. And you know, the projects that they've been doing in the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how you got qualified, right, Gail?
Well, yes. I was good friends with the previous photographer laureate.
Who was that, by the way?
And that was Jessica Goings Nelson.
Oh, okay.
And as she was getting ready to end her term, she approached me.
Okay.
And she said, I want you to think about something.
All right.
And so I looked into the process, what was involved, and I thought this would be an exciting year. And a little bit challenging, but very exciting. So I filled out the paperwork and sent in some images and let them judge it.
Now, are you a full-time professional photographer?
Yes, I am now.
Okay. All right.
I've retired twice already.
All right.
And so this is actually my third career. I turned professional or got full-time in 2012.
Okay.
And been going at it ever since.
But you have a long history with photography, right?
I picked up my first camera I'm giving away my age now, but I picked up my first camera in 1966.
Okay.
And just fell right into it.
Okay.
And got involved pretty heavily. 3 years after I got the camera, I built a dark room in the house.
Okay.
Was doing my own developing, and it just kind of grew from there. And in one of my professions or careers, I started creating calendars for my clients. And if I look back at the first one, which I still have, it was pretty sad, but it was exciting at the time. But I finally, after several years, I was getting calls from even the not so good clients wanting to know, am I going to get another calendar?
Oh, very good.
And that kind of sparked the little bit of creativity in me and the entrepreneurship, and I just took it a step further.
What was that first camera you said you bought?
It was a Mamiya,
Okay.
a Mamiya manual, totally manual, and had to learn all about the apertures and
I bet.
focus, and didn't do all the automatic things they do today.
Yeah, okay, very good. And our poet laureate is Corey Wells. Corey, congratulations to you, and tell us about your work as a poet. Is this a pastime or part-time or?
It was my avocation,
Avocation, that's the word
being
I'm
a
looking for.
creative
Thank
writer
you.
for a long time.
All right.
I actually worked almost 30 years in software development.
Okay.
I have degrees in computer science and industrial studies from MTSU.
Wonderful. Okay.
But all along, while I was working in that field, and I enjoyed that very much, I was writing on the side.
Okay.
And several years ago, I had the opportunity after a corporate buyout to go ahead and exit and make a transition. So this might be only my second career. Maybe I've got another one coming, Gail. But I have written since I was a child, and it is marvelous to have more time and to be able to engage with the things that you're curious about. I think I write a lot to discover a better understanding of things, and to explore what I don't understand. And lately I've been writing a lot related to genealogy and ancestry, history. I grew up here in Murfreesboro, lived here my whole life.
And what was your maiden name?
Green.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the daughter of Jim and Judy Green.
Oh, yes, okay.
And so yeah, we moved here when Daddy was made an agent at the Murfreesboro Depot.
Oh my word.
And never left,
Railroad
although
man.
yes, railroad man. So he worked all over the place, but we stayed here all those years. So anyway, my first collection of poetry, which is called Heaven Was the Moon and came out several years ago, a lot of it is about growing up in what I consider Murfreesboro at that time was small town, and seeing all the changes and how over time, I know we do a lot of good work here to keep our identity, and yet there's certain parts of our city that look just like any other place, as you well know. And so those things have always kind of nagged at me a little bit. You know, I don't like seeing Murfreesboro listed just as a suburb of Nashville.
Right.
And so my first collection really explores a lot of kind of coming of age and the identity of this place.
And I remember a time when Murfreesboro could rightly be considered a suburb of Nashville, I guess.
Right,
We never
right.
did want to be called that, but now by no means are we a suburb town.
I don't think of us that way at all, but I think some people, probably do.
Tremendous growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Tremendous
Don.
growth.
Yeah.
Gail, did you grow up here?
I did not. My parents are originally from this area.
Okay.
Out in the Milton area, Watertown, all through there, and in 1986 I retired out of the Air Force.
Okay.
And my parents had moved back here when my father retired. I'm the only child, so that kind of encouraged my family for us to move down here, and that was it, as I say, in '86. So been here long enough to know that the small town, the square. I remember just driving around the square is a big highlight of a Friday night. Now you got to fight the traffic to get around the square.
That was my growing up too. On Saturday night, you come and park on the square and meet all your friends.
Yep. Yes.
And Ashley, how about you?
I say I'm from everywhere. I did graduate from high school here, and I also graduated from college here.
Okay, yeah. Which high school?
Blackman,
Very good.
Blackman High School.
Okay.
And after I left Blackman, I went actually to UTC to study forensic science, but I went in undecided. But I was like, I think art and film is where I need to go. So I came back here to MTSU to study digital animation. But my family's actually from the Antioch area.
Okay.
And my mom was born in Michigan and came down here as a child, a very young child, and was raised here with her grandmother. And actually my dad is a railroad guy too.
No.
Yes, he worked for CSX.
Really?
Yes.
And I
He actually-
Our dads have to get together.
He actually retared from
Have a
there.
lot
Yeah,
of
well,
connections.
that's who Daddy
Yeah.
retired from.
But after, so as far as I say, I'm from everywhere. I've lived in Michigan. I've lived in Arizona.
Okay.
I was born in Nashville. I've lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Oh,
So I've never stayed in one spot.
Okay. As a laureate, each of you, what are you required to do during the year of your term?
That's a great question. We are tasked with outreach and advocacy for our genre,
Okay.
particularly to underserved groups. But as we have joked with Cultural Arts Murfreesboro, especially when it comes to poetry, we can consider almost everybody, the entire
sure,
city,
yeah.
underserved. But in my first term, I worked through Doors of Hope and went into the Rutherford County Work Center
Okay.
and worked with the women inmates who are participating in the Doors of Hope program to read and write poetry with them. That was one of my outreach activities. I also run, I'm main ringleader, I should say, for a monthly event called Poetry in the Borough.
Oh.
And I started that with the help of some other local poets over 2 years ago. And we meet usually the second Sunday of the month at Murfreesboro Little Theater. And we have a couple of featured poets and then a little break, and then there's an hour of open mic. And so that's something that I've continued to invest in as well. And then this year, I'm excited to be partnering with Read to Succeed, and their outreach, particularly this is starting at Riverdale, but I think it may be some other schools as well. But there's a nationwide project that started in Nashville called Project Lit. And the idea is to get young people reading culturally relevant books. And I looked at the list, I thought, that sounds kind of interesting. They want some adults to participate in a book club kind of format. And guess what? There was poetry on it, and I said, well, that is definitely a job that something I want to get involved in. So
It must be more and more difficult to get young people to read with the competition of the cell phone and the time they spend on that.
I think it is, and I think too that what I hear from some teachers and librarians is that the canon, the literary canon of the things that we were all asked to read, the Scarlet Letter and the Last of the Mohicans and whatever, less and less engages some of our students.
Right,
And so the idea that we look at what's being written now by a diverse group of people, we can find things maybe that more students will be able to relate to. So I like the idea of that.
And I won't blame the use of the cell phone on just young people.
No, it affects all of us.
We're all guilty of that.
Yeah. That's one reason I love poetry, though, and argue for it, is that even if you're not reading a big long book, do you have time for
read
one
one
page?
poem, yeah,
And as a writer, do you have time for one
Writing
page?
one,
So.
Gail, tell us about your activity now as a laureate,
Well,
the photographer laureate.
one of the outreaches that, in fact, I'm just now starting this, is with the Tennessee State Veterans Home.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm going to be doing, setting up some classes for some of the residents that have an interest in photography or may have had an interest in photography, and just get them getting more creative again, thinking about photographing various subjects. And so I've already met with the administrator, and we've already got some things getting set up. I'll be doing a series of classes. Photographing flowers is going to be one of the lessons. One is going to be photographing, they have a service dog that comes in, and so we're going to be photographing animals and some other projects. So that's one of the outreaches. Another one would be, again, for kids in the community that may not have the availability or access to the photography as they might want to. I just think there's a lot of young people that are very creative, and I think it'd be sad for them not to be able to tap into that and experience their own creativity. I think the community would suffer from it as well. So I'm wanting to and getting ready to lay the foundation for those classes for high school age We have a very a giving community here in Murfreesboro. And I saw a great example of that just in the last couple of weeks. I went out looking for donations to purchase some digital cameras. So it's for the veterans to use if they didn't have their own camera, and for the kids in the community. And it took me 3 days to get donations so I could purchase 5 digital cameras.
Wonderful.
And I was just amazed and grateful for that response. So I've got the tools in place, and I'm excited about being able to put that camera in either the veteran's hand, or at the other end of the spectrum would be in that young person's hands, and say, let's try to take a picture of something more than just a snapshot, maybe something that might actually border on fine art, and that's my goal with them.
Very good. What is the most difficult picture that you've ever created or photographed?
Oh, the most difficult.
Most complicated?
Oh, that's a great question.
Okay.
The most complicated, that would probably be a nighttime shot.
Okay.
Where, exposure has to be kind of right on to do something at night where you don't have the street lights or lights coming through a window being totally blown out.
Okay.
The goal is still have some detail in those bright areas, and yet still be able to see detail in the dark areas. So getting the right exposure and blending it all together. There's a little bit of post-processing that's done on the computer, which makes it easier.
Sure. Ashley, tell us about yourself now as a laureate. What are your obligations during the year?
So one of my main obligations would be to reach out to the adult community.
Okay.
I think once you get a certain age, people believe that, that creativity part, creating art, that was a thing of the past. Grow up, let's not create art, let's go to work. So what I'm wanting to do is reach out to the local community, is give these adults that are needing an outlet to express themselves creatively and create art, I'm going to give them an art break. So that's going to be my biggest goal, just because, I think it's really important for not just youth or the elders, but also people my age, between 20 and 40, who are still in that race.
Go higher, Ashley.
Yeah, go higher. Yes. But yes, the goal is to reach not only youth, not only adults, and not only the seniors, but everyone. But also, I want to give some of those targets, those age targets that don't have an outlet, a chance to get a break and create. So that's what I'll be doing.
Wonderful. From what I hear from all three of you, you're all three interested in getting the whole spectrum of ages, from the young people to the seniors, as you mentioned.
What Ashley was saying about the importance of creativity to everyone, I echo that. And I think we all care so much about trying to reach everyone.
Sure.
And creativity being part of an individual's emotional health and well-being, as well as our community's well-being, I think is really important, and ties in so well to the mayor's initiative for a better borough.
Okay.
And so I think that we hope to co-opt that in various activities that people can watch for in this coming year.
Well, thank you all three. This is wonderful. We have three very talented laureates here visiting with us on our program. Corey Wells, our poet laureate, Gail Stoner, our photography laureate, and Ashley Buchanan, our painter laureate. Thank you very much, and we thank the Cultural Arts Commission for creating this program for the betterment of our community. Next month, we have an opportunity to talk about the homeless situation and how various groups are addressing the situation.